a build order tutorial, something that I haven't done in a while. Now, if you haven't seen very many of my build order tutorials, they're not super specific as far as numbers go. Like, I'm not going to have a detailed list in the description of, like, 50 gas will line up right at this moment. This is more of like, I have a set of goals, like I'm going to go this tech route into this next thing and then maybe try to do this push, because I feel like build orders are nice, but you have to deviate so much in your game and kind of go with the flow. So this is more of a tutorial video on this style, which is what I like to jokingly call the Jeb Bush style. Jeb Bush, of course, was famous for saying, my brother kept our country safe. So with this build, you're going to try to keep your forces safe. You're going to focus on safe macro play, building lots of tanks, and we're going to assume that the Zerg is going to be obnoxious, he's going to be aggressive, and he's probably going to use ground units as opposed to mutalisks, which is the standard right now, unfortunately. Mutas, in my opinion, are way more fun to play against. So what we see here, CC first, I built my first supply depot on the low ground. Then I went into double barracks, took these gases, I'm saturating them when I can, and I'm upgrading both of these, of course, combat shields and stim pack. And the idea with this is to get 1-1 upgrades and have 1-1 upgrades, combat shields, and stim pack at one time, because when you have all those things at once, it's a pretty formidable army against a lot of compositions. So if we look and see what the Zerg is doing, he's doing exactly what Zergs like to do, which is be obnoxious and aggressive. He's making roaches, he's using the gold base to his advantage to pump roachling, and he's basically doing this push. Now this is why you play this style. You get a tank backbone, you kind of rush tanks almost. Some people will opt to make Hellions first, that's the standard, but in this style you go 2 barracks, with Tech Lab you start upgrading, and then you go into Siege Tank. And Siege Tanks are good at holding off bullshit like that. They're not that good against Ravagers, but what is good against Ravagers? So J Cool IL. Pretty shitty name, but he's taking a third at this gold base after his failed little push. And honestly, he's not in that bad of a position. He's making 1 upgrade at a time. He already has an infestation pit, and he's already getting freaking hive, which means that Ultralists are going to be something we're going to have to contend with. Now, it's key to note that whenever you play ZVT, a lot of the game is killing Zerg before they get to hive, or doing a lot of things that antagonize them, make it harder for them to get to hive. Because once they get to hive, it's very hard to win, especially if they know what they're doing and they make infestors. So part of screwing them over and preventing them from getting to hive, or at least getting to hive with an economy, because if they get hive but they only have 1 base economy, then obviously it's not a big deal. So dropping. Notice we're still playing defensively in our base with the siege tanks, because we know he has a roach army. And we wait until this drop goes out on the map to distract him, and then we move out and take our third. And we start, that way we can leapfrog tanks forward, establish bunkers. And if you're dropping your opponent, there's a very low possibility he's going to just ramrod you right in the throat when you don't want him to. You know when you're setting up your third and you don't have any of your units in position, and right when you transfer your SCVs, the Zerg comes flooding in? We don't want that. That's why we did that droopy little drop. We went over here and we almost killed his third. Now if you know anything about ZVT, you know drops are important, and the fact that this third, which is very important to him winning this game, because I have this Marine here, we know he can't take a 4th. So if I kill this, extremely bad for the Zerg. And watch this, drop in the main. He's trying to get lurkers, or I think he was, and pumped out a few hydras. Let's see, he has 3 on the way and he has 5 now. So he made 8 hydras, and he's remaking the hydra den, and he has his ultras. See a little drop here, and I killed this base while that was going on. Notice I also have taken the towers to see if he's going to try little Ling run-bys, and he finally kills me. So that whole time I was preventing, we're going to go to normal speed here, that whole time I was preventing him from moving out. He had roaches, and he was making hydras, and he could have been aggressive up until the point when I started dropping him. That ensured that I got my 3rd, and I got my 4th. So I know I said this would be a builder tutorial, and I haven't been stressing things, but I'll go over some things. So after we got our 1-1 upgrades, we got an armory and started getting attack upgrades. Obviously got them as fast as we could. Produced medevacs non-stop and make 1 Viking to move around the corners of the map and clear out overlords. You should always do that. Obviously get upgrades, prioritize those, and there's really no supply measurement to get barracks at because all games are different. But basically, whenever you see your money start to float and you do an entire production cycle and your money still doesn't go down, that means you need to build more barracks. So look at this. I'm moving out to take my 4th. I make it a PF, but look what I do at the same time. I drop at my 4th base. Now at this point the Zerg has ultras, so I actually have to be scared, and I do this like pseudo little bullshit move out. This is kind of bad. I should be microing this better, but honestly I was concerned that I would just lose everything if I didn't have my siege tanks and all my shit together. Whenever this happens in games, you should always prioritize getting your shit together over microing a drop. So I had my shit together. I had my siege tanks on my cliff, and this base is under peril but should be dead. This is a disaster on my end. Terrible micro. This is the advantage to setting your drops out, or the disadvantage to doing drops like this, is you hide it from your opponent because it's not on the creep, but your units won't automatically start attacking. So if you do up I'm just going to queue up a bunch of drop style, then it's not as effective. Notice the split of siege tanks up onto this high ground, so anytime J-Cool wants to attack, he has to run down and get pummeled from the high ground. Look at that. That's all siege tank fire. And here we go, I finally micro the drop. Took forever. Also had microed this one and killed this 3rd. And always do this. You should always, whenever your drops are about to die, even if you just have a couple marauders, pick up the units and fly to the Zerg's natural. It's so obnoxious to deal with the Zerg. This is also very obnoxious, targeting your opponent's high-tech structures that are expensive, like the Ultra Cavern and the Infestation Pit. Big pain in the ass for this guy to remake, especially if he loses his hive. Notice the 3rd being dropped, the natural being dropped as well. At this point, he's just been fucked with to the extent where he doesn't have any economy. He was all in on that 1 army, and I was just so well defended that he could not do anything. Now, I floated a little bit of money there, but look how many barracks I have in production. When you're on a lot of bases, don't be afraid to do that. Just make a shitload of barracks, because you want to be able to spend a lot of your money very fast. You don't want to have to wait, because if you lose one big fight, you don't want your opponent to be able to push across the map and just win the game. So he didn't go mutas. This is the disadvantage of going mutas, is especially if you fall behind, you just can't contend with drops. And J-Cool knows it's over. He left. I was just fucking around. I'm not actually that him. But if you enjoyed this little tutorial about how to play safe 2-base tank style with drops, whatever you want to call it, subscribe for more StarCraft 2 content, leave a comment, say something, make an obscure reference to The Office or another show that you like. Peace out, guys.